Okay, it says it's live.
Okay, we're waiting for the bar to. Oh wait, oh okay. It says that we're live, but the page also is still loading. So who knows what's really going on? But maybe we're actually really live.
I think we're live.
Oh, okay, cool. We're really live. That's exciting. So yeah, hi everybody. I'm here with my friend Anuradha Kowtha, and we're going to be talking about some things relating to my upcoming Say Yes to You workshop tour. So, Anuradha, tell the people who you are.
Yeah, yes, I'd love to. My name's Anuradha Kowtha, as you said. My business is Manifest by Design. And basically, I help people get clear on who they were before the indoctrination and conditioning from capitalism and so on came in and, interfered with who their sense of self in their life, work, and relationships. And my job here today is to interview a little bit about your upcoming tour. So before we do that, can you tell me maybe a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I can totally do that. Thank you. So I'm Tiana Dodson, and I'm a body liberation coach. And the basis of my work is helping people who are feminine of center find practical strategies that are easy to implement to get them away from dieting and moving toward being more in partnership with their bodies and finding acceptance for their bodies while healing their body image and their relationship with their bodies. So lots of body stuff. But yeah, like that's me in a nutshell. That's what I'm doing. That's what I do in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I love that about your work. I think it really speaks to one of the frontiers when we think about liberation, right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I've just been hearing about your tour coming up in October, and you're going to be in 4 cities, and you're going to be doing this, really getting to what I understand to be embodied praxis around how do we be in our bodies? How do we become free in our bodies to take up space, to do what we would like to do, to feel supported and nourished and loved? And can you tell us a little bit about this tour, why you're doing it?
Yeah, sure. Like, I mean, it's like so it's kind of so on a personal note, like I recently moved to France last year, and basically um I've been pretty socially isolated. So I have a very rich online life. I have lots of business friends. I have lots of other friends, like lots of people that I'm talking to online all the time. And it's like really amazing. I've got my business community. I've got my liberatory community. I've got my fat community. So that's super. But basically, like, I don't have anybody to go have coffee with. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could make that happen? And along with making that happen for myself, make that happen for other people. So like I did this 100 conversation series, I'm currently doing a 100 conversation series. It's kind of inactive at the moment, but I talked to a bunch of people at the end of last year. And what I asked for was, you give me 20 minutes of your time. It's confidential, judgment free. I just want to know about your lived experience in your fat body. And one of the questions I asked people was, what do you want for yourself and other fat people? And I kept hearing like variations of the same thing, which was, I'm tired of feeling alone. I don't want to feel alone anymore. I don't want to feel like I'm the only one who's struggling with these things. I don't want to have to always like call ahead to the restaurant and make sure that there are chairs that can fit. Or, if I want to go to a show, make sure that I can actually, like sit somewhere comfortably. I don't want to have to worry about these kinds of things, like taking my own gown to the hospital if I'm going to have a procedure. And like just realizing, I mean, knowing from my own personal experience, my own lived experience, but also like continually hearing this from other people that it's a common thing that we are carrying this labor and this just it's so much, to deal with on a daily basis, like to have to be prepared to go outside. Like not just the normal things that you have to prepare for, making sure you have your ID and your wallet and so on and so forth, but like, also preparing yourself for these like emotional and physical macro and microaggressions like that you're going to encounter. And I was like, if I could create a space where you can come and just be yourself, and not have to worry about, is that chair going to hold me, or are people going to judge me for the size of my body? Like I was like, yeah, this needs to happen. Mm-hmm. So these two twin needs, my personal and kind of more professional needs, for myself, and also creating that for my community, were really important. And those were the two things that motivated me to create this workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about what you just said is there's a piece on community, bringing people together, and then where their experience is centered is, and also that for this point, the burdens of all of that can be put down, because
absolutely,
how many times do people who are fat or chronically ill or any of these kinds of things, how often do they get to think or be in spaces where they are allowed to just be feeling vulnerable and at ease and supported?
Exactly. Just being people.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yes, I hear you on so many of those things. And I love that you seem to be focusing on more of the praxis part. So the lived experience, and yesterday you shared something about this kind of toolkit, or, what's the word you use? I don't remember.
I think I said first aid kit.
First aid kit. There you go. Yes. Yeah. So you're talking a little bit more of the praxis end, and what kind of maybe experience would people have in this space? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, like one of the things that we're going to discuss. So it's not just going to be, getting together and having a fat party. Though there's going to be some elements of that, but basically, we're also going to be getting together to learn something that's going to help us when we leave that space, because we all, if you have been privileged enough to have an experience where you've been in a safer space where you can just like let your burden go and just be who you are, sometimes it's hard to walk back out into the world and have to like put all that stuff back on. And so like I wanted also to make sure that this was a useful workshop, where unfortunately I'm going to ask you to do some work, but basically that work is going to be beneficial to you, because we're going to be going through my 4-step framework for body liberation. And essentially what my framework is about is giving you practical tools and strategies so that like when you have a bad body day, or you have like that experience that just makes you feel like, well, okay, I guess I should just go join the Weight Watchers tomorrow. Like you have this toolbox, this first aid kit ready to help you get back out of that place and go, back onto your journey that you were on toward body acceptance and body partnership. Because if you're prepared, if you already have that toolbox, if you already have that first aid kit packed and ready to go, all you have to do when you're having those experiences is just pop it open and pull out something that works. And that really makes the whole experience easier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for what it sounds like too, from a lived experience, and I don't have necessarily those same margins, but it sounds like one thing you're really trying to highlight here is this kind of the death by 1,000 cuts kind of concept of microaggressions. And so sometimes we do need salves or things like that too in our toolkit that can nourish us in that moment. And the fact that we have something ready to go maybe gives us a little bit more confidence to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, step 3 of the framework is self-care and resilience building. And essentially, like, a lot of people poo-poo like the self-care of like as it's like widely distributed, like bath bombs and massages. But the fact is, like, self-care can be as like unsexy as I got up and I brushed my teeth this morning. And self-care can also be as sexy as this is something that gives me pleasure and makes me feel good in my body. And so I now feel better about myself and I can move forward. And like self-care is super important because that helps fill your cup back up, but also like the flip side of that, which is resilience building. Because death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? Like is horrible. Like, I mean, just to think about it is horrible. But basically, like, to experience it, and not physically paper cuts, but like, like just going out during your day and like getting that kind of side eye look, like, for whatever it is that you've got going on, or like, where you, for example, if you ride public transportation and you like walk onto the train or get on the bus and you kind of see people doing that thing, where it's like, oh, there was a seat next to me, but not anymore because my bag is there. Or like, you sit down and then somebody kind of like does that thing where they're trying to get away from you as best they can. That all really sucks. It really hurts, because I mean, I know as a fat person, like generally you are socialized to make yourself palatable. You are socialized to make yourself smaller. You are socialized to be as likable and polite and, well-groomed as possible so that you are judged less harshly. And so like knowing that you've put in all that effort and then you're still getting this response, like it hurts even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And it sounds like too that it kind of sucks the joy out of it, which is like part of your message seems to be living your best fat life. Absolutely. So that to me doesn't sound like your best fat life if you're always feeling sucked, like drained from that sort of interaction or expecting that kind of like on guard for that kind of reaction all the time.
Absolutely. But I mean, so like if you have to be on guard, like be on guard well. Yeah. And so like you need to learn how do you become resilient. And there's a discussion that's going on right now that's essentially saying there is no self-resiliency. There is no resiliency without community resiliency. And I agree with this. Partially. Because yes, you need community around you to help protect you and shield you and change culture and the way things happen in the world. But also you need to do the best that you can. And I'm not saying that there is like a bar to meet and that we all have to meet it. What I'm saying is like resilience might look different for me than it does for you or any other person, because you also have to like find what works for you, what you are capable of, what's available to you, right? Because that's what's really gonna help you. Like, I'm not gonna say like, hey, your first aid kit should be full of massages that cost $60 an hour, if that's not something you can afford or access. Maybe your self-care is going to your spice cabinet and getting the things that smell really lovely and spending like 5 minutes just smelling wonderful spices. Like that's something that you can do, that you can access, and that's maybe real for you. So like,
absolutely.
Those are self-care things like that we're going to have to figure out for ourselves. But also with resiliency, like you don't always have access to your community. And so that does mean that you do need somehow to have an armor system that you can activate yourself.
Mhm. Yes.
And so that's something that within the workshop we're going to talk about, like, how do you get such a thing? How do you set that up for yourself? And how do you activate it when you need to?
Mhm.
Well as how do you build that community? And the part of the building the community is coming to the workshop.
Yes.
Basically, like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm waiting for when you come to London. So, I can't wait for that, for that part. Just hint, hint. Um, so I'm just going to throw that out there. But yes, so it sounds like the two things people are going to be walking away with is this community building aspect and this first aid kit or resilience and other self-care tools that are specific. So it's both very praxis oriented and it's very personalized to you and your situation. It's like, how can you
absolutely.
make this in a flexible way that serves you and where you are right now?
Absolutely.
You as the attendee, right?
Absolutely. And then also there's another little thing that you're going to walk away with.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, because there's an activity that's also built into the workshop, that's going to help you learn how to be seen and also learn how to see other people, because that's something else that I hear a lot of, when I'm talking to people. They say things like, I see other fat women out there and, they're fabulous. I mean, look at Lizzo, she's so great. But I mean, like, I think they look great and I really think what they're doing is fantastic, but I just can't do that myself. And so this activity is going to help, like, just give you a little push in that direction where you can make that yours as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because the act of being seen and seeing someone as we are, as we would, not as we would hope to be, and so on, you know, the, there's some magic in that of being seen as we are. And I love that. And I love that that's a thing. And I personally, even though I don't identify as fat myself, I still have trouble taking up space and letting myself be seen. So it sounds like these are things that can be really useful for people who are struggling with, in that area, especially from what you're talking about here. How do I know if this is going to be a good workshop for me? Because these are questions, and we're getting a comment to somebody else saying, yes, come to the UK. So when you do come to the UK, I have that genuine question about, I don't identify as fat necessarily, but I have some of the other margins we've talked about, chronic illness and mental health things. How would we know we're a good fit if this is the right space for us?
I mean, essentially, my very flip answer to that is, if anything that I have ever said resonates with you, this workshop is for you. But basically, like, if you're somebody who struggles with body image or struggles with dieting or like the mentality of dieting, where you feel like, food is unsafe or like you have to do certain things to control your body, even though you're also kind of thinking like something's not quite right here, this is for you. Because all of this stuff that I talk about, all the things that I'm going to be presenting, are going to be things that are going to help you discern. Discern is a good word. Discern, like, what actually is right for you. What is, like, how you can trust yourself better. What is more true versus what is untrue. And so, like, if you're questioning dieting, if you're questioning diet culture, if you're questioning, the things that we know are true, then this thing is for you as well.
Absolutely. And I love that you're bringing that embodiment quality, because so much of the wounds of capitalism, colonialism, supremacy culture, and so on live in our body. Like, we are walking around with those and we're holding them in our bodies, and learning to trust ourselves again and be, like you said, in partnership with our body. So huge. So that sounds amazing. So definitely. I think Sarah and I, we're probably going to be signed up when you come to London.
Sounds good. I
And
love
then,
it.
and then the question about what if I'm not fat, I think you answered that pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like you've answered it really well. Do you have anything further to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, I want to be explicit. Like, this workshop is not only for fat people. And that's because my message is not only for fat people. The thing that's important, however, is to note that it will be a fat-centered space. And all I mean by saying fat-centered is not that if you're not fat, that you don't get to say anything or you just get to like quietly sit in the corner and participate quietly. Like, that's not what I mean. All I mean is that, for example, when I was looking for a space, I was looking for a space that would accommodate large bodies comfortably. I was looking for a space that had chairs that fat bodies would be able to sit in and be comfortable in. I'm looking for a space that like is accessible, physically accessible. So like, if we're not on the ground floor, that there's a lift, that the doorways and the hallways are wide enough for people to pass through and be comfortable physically. If there's mobility reduction or any kind of disability that has need of devices and things. And also, like, when we're in our space and we're having our discussions, fat-centered also means that I'm going to always be considering the larger people in the room before I get to the smaller people in the room. So that doesn't mean you cannot participate. It doesn't mean that you cannot have something to say. It just means that you're not going to be first in line. Mm-hmm. But I still welcome you in the space, and you are still welcome in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're showing us how we can care, because when we look at this concept of marginalization and supporting those and centering the needs of those individuals, then everybody is taken care of, like, absolutely, supremely well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when we make space for the people who are at the margins, the most marginalized of us all, it makes more space for everyone else. Mm-hmm. So like, if something's gonna be comfortable for me in my fat body, it's certainly gonna be comfortable for someone who's smaller than me. Mm-hmm. So like, we should always be looking to take care of the most marginalized. Everyone else benefits.
Mm-hmm. Everyone. Absolutely, I agree with that so much. Then another question that you said we're getting, in the question and answers that are coming in, is there what if we're recovering from mental health things or have eating disorders or things like that? So, chronic illness. I think you spoke a little bit about the disability part,
right?
Physical disability part.
Yeah, so this is kind of a safety question. And I understand this question because like, when you're in recovery from something like a mental health episode or eating disorders or anything such like that, you're still liable to be triggered. And I am not an eating disorder coach. I don't have any kind of formal training in these kinds of things or mental illnesses for that matter as well. So like, essentially what I'm saying is disclaimer, I'm not qualified to deal with these sort of things. However, my whole thing in creating this workshop is to give you space to take care of yourself. So I've been trying to look for spaces that are large enough so that even though we're sitting down in group and having a discussion, if you need to, for whatever reason, get up and walk around or leave the room or go be alone, that's available to you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be doing any coaching during these workshops. So I'm not going to be giving any kind of advice. Mostly it's going to be me giving some ideas and then examples probably from my own experience and you finding ways with your own situation to make these things happen for yourself. And so like in saying that, I'm trying to create a space that is accommodating and accessible, and as safe as possible. But I trust you as someone who is in recovery, to take care of yourself. And I am trying to give you the space to take care of yourself. So we're not going to be locking a door. We're not going to be requiring people to do any sort of thing. You can participate as much or as little as you want, whatever is comfortable for you. The only requirement is that you show up. If you buy a ticket, please show up. But basically after that, like if you need to go outside, if you need to go walk around, if you need to lay down on the floor, nobody's going to be looking at you strangely because the space is made for that. So I'm not going to make any spectacle of you or anything like that. So if you can trust yourself to be in the space, then I trust you to be in the space, and I trust you that you know what's best.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And that permission for us to trust our intuition it sounds like it's baked right into how you're going to be, you're making space for that. So that's wonderful. That gives me a lot of ease because there's all sorts of special needs and ways of being that we need to consider to make sure we're taken care of and feel safe. So
and another thing as well is if you do have a special need, like there's something that you need that I haven't already addressed, on my sign up form on the when you buy your ticket, there is a question specifically asking about that. So if you do have some kind of consideration that needs to be considered, then you have space to let me know that, and I will do my best to accommodate you.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, I trust that you will, in doing that and so on. And I know you want to do this more. So showing your support by coming to these events, if possible, is really going to help Tiana be able to continue doing this work. It's really super important.
Yes.
So, so kind of as we're kind of wrapping up, I know you're making it accessible in all these ways. I think you're also making it accessible via price point and payment options as well.
Yes, it is really cheap for what it is. It's really cheap for what it is. So I'm offering the entire workshop for $247, which is really, really cheap for what it is. And I'm doing it because this is also an experiment for me. I've never done a live workshop before. And so I just want you to come. I want you to come, and I want you to come and be in community with me, be in space with me, and do this work for me, or for me, but also with me, right? Because it's for you. It's really for you. But it's like we're developing something together, and that's why the price point is so low, because I want it to be easy to say yes to. It's the Say Yes to You workshop.
Yes.
$247 is a low price where you can say yes to that relatively easily. I've also got a number of different payment plans available. So, if you've got long money or short money, it doesn't matter. There's possibly a payment plan available for you. And if you're somebody who is not going, or you can't make it, or you're not in any one of the 4 cities, which are Portland, LA, Denver, and Chicago. If you're not in any of the 4 cities and you'd like to support someone to go, even though you yourself are not going, I do have a link for scholarship donations, so you can make it easier financially for someone else to go. And so scholarships will be available after I reach a certain threshold. So I need 4 people to sign up for each workshop, and then after 4 people are signed up, then scholarships will take effect for people afterward who express need. Yes, it's a lot of details.
It is,
But
right?
yeah, I mean,
But the
there's lots of
essential
options.
details. Hmm.
Lots of options.
Yeah. And if you're kind of on the fence, Tiana is going to offer a 1 hour coaching session with her to,
Yeah.
and I think we talked a little bit about it before, that this might be used as kind of a check-in after the workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you buy your ticket by the 15th of September, you will also get a 60-minute coaching session included, which is like just also adding value because I was offering these at $97 before. So like get your ticket by the 15th and you'll get a coaching session with me. You can use that session like immediately if you really want to. You can also use a coaching session afterward, and we can talk more about your experience of the session of the workshop, and or just whatever's going on with you. That's what the session's for.
Absolutely. Sounds like it's just a chance to talk to you privately about maybe more like an integration time.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. That session alone is, amazing. Having that kind of private time with you, Tiana.
Yeah.
And then just let's kind of wrap up with inviting people to come.
Yes.
And we know you're doing this important work, and this sort of thing, as with any of our businesses, relies on referrals, refers on patronage in different forms, so we can keep doing our work. So we really wholeheartedly invite you to apply. And if she does that, if she's able to make these workshops tour, it can maybe come to other cities, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said before, this is an experiment for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I've been dying to do for ages, and finally I was like, just do it, we're just gonna do it. So like you know show me that you want this, show me that you want more of this, and I'm happy to give more, but I need you to buy tickets. Like, I really want you to be there with me to do this work. Come and be in community with me, like spend the day, let's look at each other, let's be fat together, let's like, we're gonna eat some yummy snacks, let's have some tea, drink some coffee, whatever, your deal is. And like, let's be together in this space, loving on and respecting each other and learning how we all get free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. What a beautiful place to end our conversation. I'm going to try to put the link in the comments. And will you just say it for everybody following?
Yeah. So you can go buy your tickets at www.bit.ly/Tiana Tour Tix, and all lowercase, TIANA TOURTIX. And that'll send you to the page that's got all the information. There are further FAQs, and like if you read that page or you watch this thing and you're still kind of like a little on the fence, you're not sure if it's for you or not, drop in my DMs, send me an email. I'm open to having conversation about it. So like, let me know, because I want to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that sounds wonderful. And I hope for the people not able to come that you are sharing little glimpses of your event live for us. That's my hope. Anyway, and I'm going to hold out hope you come to the UK. So anyway, I'm so glad we had this time today. And if I think we can, I think we've covered everything, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks for being with me today and asking me these questions. And yeah, it's been great. So bye, everybody. See you soon.